Tourism in the Maldives has started in 1972. At first with only 2 hotels, now there are over 172 resorts located in different atolls. The unique condition of Maldives is that one island is one resort, meaning that one hotel occupies the whole island. By doing so, resorts provide more privacy and also more luxury. Do you think people are not happy with the tourism?
No, actually, majority of the people are fine with tourists right now. But I think if it goes up a little high, then it's gonna start.
Too much, yeah. Mass tourism is changing those pristine islands. Even though all the people I spoke to have a positive view of tourism, some are worried about the future. In fact, the push for rapid tourism development in the Maldives has created several inevitable environmental and social issues for the archipelago. Over 1 million visitors a year landing on its pristine shores has led to environmental degradation. Mostly because of waste, and plastic waste in particular, overcrowded resorts island and how the Maldivians adopted their culture to accommodate an increasing number of tourists rather than preserving their lifestyle. So the question is, how can we solve these issues?
Everything logistically in the Maldives is very difficult because even from airport to anywhere you have to take a boat. We have, like you said, we have over almost 2,000 islands, 187 islands people are living. We are actually, probably there are 160 resorts now, and triple the population comes to these resorts. We have a population of just less than 500,000, 400,000, and we have more tourists coming every year. So our waste has tripled, quadrupled, in the last 50 years.
Take Diffushi for example. Diffushi is a local island. It means only locals could access it until recently. Before 2009, if you weren't a Maldivian citizen, you couldn't go to this island and to many others like this one. Now, things are different. Maldivians have started their own travel businesses, opened guest houses, organized safari boat trips, so you see reefs, swim with little sharks or turtles, and explore small islands, sometimes as small as this one. How do you feel about the island being changed by the tourism, by so many people coming here?
So, I did not grow up here, like entirely. I was in the city to study.
Uh-huh.
But I would come here for vacations. But recently I came here, and then when I came, I noticed there was a lot more guest house and stuff. My old playground is also a guest house now. If there's more guests, then it's not that good for the tourism as well, because
That's what I think, because they change the identity of the island.
Here, walking around the island, you can notice people doing some cultural stuff, fishing, all of it. And then you get this very local vibe. The people are very kind and stuff.
I mean, the guest house tourism, I think, is very, very good for the locals, because a lot of locals started going to other islands and seeing what is there in locally.
Here in this island right now, they're building a lot, but they're trying their best to hold it as well. But since people want more business in the tourism industry, because then they're just building more and more and more guest house. We would go on for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Like this, you're still good for a couple of years.
But there's some islands which is only for tourists, and the local vibe there, it's not that much.
I think, living in Male, all of us want to get out to a beach, throw our shoes off and just walk around on a beach and sit and play in a beach.
But how do we make it all work? In other words, how do we make tourism really sustainable so that Maldives remain the beauty it is now? We could spend hours talking about it, especially if we think of climate change and waste management, but we don't have the time now. This is just a 7-minute video after all. I would like instead to show you an incredible idea, something a bit crazy, but that it might solve some problems. The floating city.
This soon-to-be floating city will be assembled in an existing lagoon. The unique pattern? Invented by a company called Dutch Docklands and modeled after the brain, both human and coral.
So, is this a real option or just a dream? And is this gonna make things truly better to Maldivians?
I think for residences, it's expensive probably to build it, but I think it's better than reclaiming on a long term on an environmental impact, because you built in a lagoon, you don't dredge or burrow from the middle of the atoll where the sand, you don't destroy anything. It will be less than reclaiming.
Floating houses are a possible solution for at least two problems: rising water level because of climate change and space. In fact, since Maldives have a limited amount of land on islands, it could be a good solution having floating houses, bridges and public spaces. In conclusion, I can say I was a bit skeptical about visiting Maldives. The image the country has abroad is very much about luxury resorts, and I'm not much into that. I like blending with locals more and getting to know communities. But after my trip, I can say Maldives are truly unique. Just by going from an island to another, you realize how much life is on the water. Also because islands are so small, it really feels like being in the middle of the ocean. With just enough land to don't get your feet wet. Well, sometimes not even that.
Un ombrellone che ci aspetta.
Another thing I love is food. Everything is so fresh and tasty in Maldives. Like having this Maldivian breakfast of tuna, onions and spicy pepper with roti bread every morning. Ah, I miss that. That's all for now. I'll see you in the next trip reportage. Bye!